All right, everybody. Today we have another special monthly guest. You all know him. You see him, Will Aitken. He is the head sales evangelist for SalesFeed. He's also a TikTok superstar. Hashtag, not hashtag, handle. His handle is SalesFeed. And he's on LinkedIn. He's on YouTube. He has a crazy YouTube channel. I just subscribed to actually, from demo to close, my channel. And so I'm excited to have him because I think there's a big problem in sales, from an AE or an SDR all the way to someone that's trying to follow up with a prospect, from cold calling, cold outbound, follow up, post demo follow up. Everyone and their grandmothers are trying to stand out for the prospect. They're either sending out cold emails, they are following up after discovery, they're following up after demo, but it's really hard to stand out and cut through the noise because all other sales reps are doing the exact same thing. They're the same emails, the same calls, the same follow-ups. So Will is going to talk to us about how to focus on follow-up using more video in the cycle, in the sales cycle, rather than the classic email or the voicemail. I'm sure that's an omni-channel approach here, but I'll leave it to you. I think this is going to be interesting because it's not, prior to this recording, you said it's not necessarily just for cold outbound. It could be once you've done the demo and you're following up, you still need to stand out and cut through the noise for the prospect. So the mic is on you. You have the floor. Yep, go for it.
For sure, More. Thanks so much for the kind introduction. So like you said, a lot of people, when they think of video in sales, they think of video prospecting. There's a whole lot more to it. Video prospecting can be a great way to stand out to prospects. I'm a big fan of including a video in my sales sequences, but I've also seen a ton of success using video throughout the sales cycle as well. With that said, I'm happy to share a couple of good pointers on how to send a successful prospecting video as well.
Yeah, go for it. And I'm writing down questions as you're speaking because I realize I have like 2 immediate questions, but I'll wait on that.
For sure. So like one of the biggest videos that people do, SDRs, BDRs, if you want to start using video, then is the outbound video. I think a lot of people struggle with this one. But really, you can take the same exact framework that you use for sales emails and apply it to video and just use it as a different way to get to your prospects. You mentioned earlier, omni-channel. So I'm always looking for different ways I can reach out to prospects and ways to stand out in their inbox. So my sequences might look like a phone call and then a voicemail, and then I'll send an email to follow up on that voicemail, and then I'll call them again. And then maybe around step 8 or 9, I'm going to send them a video and that's going to be personalized to them. But I'm going to use very similar messaging that I would in an email. So it might look like this. Hey, More, spotted that your team's currently doubling the size after you acquired some funding. Typically, when we see that, we see some growing pains. There's no standardized processes across their team. We might be able to help with that, but provide some training, let's say. Just curious though, is this interesting to you at all? So I've done the personalization, I've done the problem statement, I've done the solution, and then I've asked for interest. And it's a simple 30-second video that you can send to your prospects in your sequences that often gets much higher response rates. And when people do respond to a video, people really appreciate being sent a video. They're like, dude, that video was awesome. You actually took the time to pull out on camera, and they know because of the fact that you've recorded it, it can't be automated, which I think is the beauty of video. You can't fake it. Well, you can. There are some cheeky ways to do that, but it appears to be something that's so personal, so such a great way to connect with prospects that people do respond, higher response rate, should I say, and when they do respond, they're much happier about it as well.
All right, so I have 4 immediate questions because I'm sure you have more stuff to talk about. So first one of my questions, I feel like you answered it. It was, when do you send a video as part of email? You said potentially sequence step 8 or 9. And then my second question was, what do you include? Which you answered. You said it's essentially the same message that you've sent in the original email, that personalization, problem, question asking. Are you literally like, are you not concerned that the video messaging is the exact same messaging as the first email, since it's like step 8 or 9?
I think that would be something you could worry about if you wanted to, but if they didn't respond to the email, like, you're still leading with that same relevance. If the email was written well and you're just delivering it in a different way, then that's important to do. Like, don't create more work for yourself and think you have to do everything differently. Heck, they may not have even opened that email for, you can track that, you can check. If they didn't respond to it, then they didn't connect in the right ways. But you'd have to read it word for word and be like, More, I spotted this on LinkedIn. You can do it in a little bit different way, but still use that same relevance and problem statement.
Yeah.
In the video.
And in the email that you're sending the video, I assume you're using like Vidyard or Loom or one of those, you're putting the GIF or whatever it is. So you have that little like movement. Are you putting anything in that email body, or are they just saying the video sort of GIF and then they can click on it?
Yeah. That's an awesome question. So I typically send vidyards in a thread email. I don't like sending them as a new email because just using links and emails can often end you up in spam. It's not what we want. So that's why I use it as a later step in my sequence. So I'll often be sending the video in response to an existing thread.
Okay.
Even the email that I sent before that I mentioned. And then, I'm going to use the thumbnail. I'm often going to start on their LinkedIn profile in the video. You share your screen, you start on their LinkedIn profile, because typically if someone sees their face or their website on your in a box, they're intrigued. What's this person saying about me? But I will often accompany it with a little bit of text, like a teaser. I won't spoil what's in the video because then they have no reason to click and open and watch it. But I'll often use that point of relevance, the personalization, as kind of like a clickbait for the video.
What's an example of something that you've done?
Yeah. Hey, I have a question about your team growth. ... Video with the GIF there. Question about your new product launch. So it's relevant, and then they'll be like, well, okay,
but sort of vague at the same time.
Still vague. I'm not going to be like, question about your product launch. I spotted this, yada yada yada, and because then they're not going to open the video because you've already spoiled it in a way. You want to kind of allude, tease to what the video is about, and using that relevance or personalization point is a great way to do that.
And my other question, how long are the videos typically?
Sub 30 seconds for a prospecting video every single time.
Okay, and then I feel like I'm doing interrogating and discovery, not conversational. But the last question, because I know you probably have some more stuff you want to talk about. Yeah. How many videos do you include throughout the entire like sequence? So if you have a 16-step sequence, how many videos are you sending? Or I don't know how many step sequences do you have? Do you have 8, 9, 10? So
or my sequences are long. I like to hammer people a little bit. I get
like 30 sequences.
I go for 30 steps, yeah. But they're all value and they're all slightly different. Yeah. Things like a like and comment on LinkedIn counts as a step to me.
Yep, me too.
So I have quite long sequences. And generally I'll send one video. It depends what account it is. So I have an account, if they're a good fit, ICP fit, tier 1, tier 2, I'm going to send them a personalized video using that relevance and record that for each of them. And I'm going to typically send only one video in the whole sequence because it is just a slightly more time-consuming way to do things. For tier C accounts, I might actually create a video for a whole bunch of different prospects. So this is a cheeky way to do things. This is what I was alluding to earlier. That might be like, hey, look, spotted that you're hiring, still generic, right? But it's generic enough that it sounds relevant. We currently work with this company in your space. So I'm sending it to a bunch of companies that are very similar, ideally. Just curious though, is this relevant to you? Something along those lines. So that would in those sequences where I'm sending to tier C, I'll use it as like step 18 instead.
Gotcha. Okay. So if it's like a 1-to-1 with super personalized outreach, this video sequence is going out sooner. If it's sort of one-to-many, it's going out later. Okay. So those were my questions. Proceed.
That's great. So those are the two ones that I've already used for prospecting. And yeah, like you said, the timing is really important. You got to make sure you're not asking for too much. If someone opens a video and sees it's like a minute or anything, then you got to be careful of that. I also see a lot of reps try and demo their product in outreach, which obviously is way too premature. You don't even know if they have a problem you're solving yet. So it's really important to be focused on the customer, not your solution at that point. Just because video doesn't mean you have to show them something.
Yeah, I've done it where the only time I've done a video where I'm like sort of demoing is the prospect business was like, I think it was like they had like an e-commerce website, and so I found problems on their website. Yes. That's easy to do. I'm like, oh, this is perfect. But like right now, let's just say I do cold prospecting myself for my business, and it has nothing to do with the website. It's all about like, are your sales reps like performing in terms of sales demos and discovery? And there's no way I can do a video like that. All I can do is potentially share like a workshop that I did, a recording of a workshop, which is something that I do, but it's just a link to my YouTube channel.
That's why it's helpful to start on their website or their LinkedIn profile. So if you did pick up on some facts like, hey, I saw you're growing or you launched a new product, you could actually start with that on your screen as like this is where I saw it, kind of answer that question in their mind. Oh, where did you learn that from? But it also makes it for a great thumbnail when you're sharing something relevant to them. And you mentioned that I've seen people who do really creative videos if they're selling a product. We had a customer of ours who were an Amazon store helper to help you get ranked better on Amazon. and they showcased that when you searched this one company's product, I think it was like Hydro Flask, all the results weren't Hydro Flask. And they're like, look at this problem. And that's a really,
it's very specific.
yeah. But that's, if you can visually show you how you can help with the problem, that's obviously a bonus points. But I did say that video isn't just for prospecting. So maybe I'll move on to some of the other ways. Yeah. So that's one type of video you can do. But one other one that I've seen employed so successfully, I used to work at a company called Proposify, we're selling to sales leaders, is that when the meeting's actually being booked, you can use video to increase your hold rate, make sure you don't get no-shows. So either the SDR or the AE can send this video. I personally think it should be the AE who sends it. But when a meeting gets booked for an SDR, or even if you're an account executive who's booked your own meeting on the call via email, I like to send a video between when I book the meeting, when the meeting takes place, to set an agenda for that meeting and introduce myself. And that would typically look like, hey, Moore, my name is Will. I'm the account executive you'd be speaking to on Wednesday, or we spoke on the phone the other day, because now I'm putting a face to a name, which makes that emotional connection. Just wanted to give you a heads up, before that meeting, I've planned this, this, and this. My SDR told me that this was important to you, or on the phone you mentioned this was important. So I've prepared to show you a little bit about that. If there's anything super specific you'd like to add to that agenda, then please do let me know. If not, I'll talk Wednesday. There's no call to action there, but it's a really good way to put a face to a name, because most of the time as sales reps, when we book meetings, unless you've used a video, they don't know what you look like. They don't owe you anything, which makes it really easy when they're on the day and they're busy. Oh, I don't even know who Will is. It really doesn't make them very accountable. So that means it's easy for them to show you.
That's really interesting. I've never done that before. I've heard and I've done the send a pre-demo email saying to better prepare for our call. Can you tell me maybe XYZ questions? That's really interesting. That's really insightful. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, that actually doing that one thing. My SDRs love me for, obviously, because SDRs want their meetings to show up. But doing that one step and always sending the video improved our show rate from 70 to 90% at Proposify outbound meetings.
You know, it reminds you. Did you watch the movie Top Gun? The new Top Gun?
I haven't seen the new one yet.
Oh my god! All right, so go see it. But prior to the movie, it's not a spoiler alert.
Okay, all right.
That prior to the movie starting in theaters, there's like 20-second clip of Tom Cruise sitting in front of the camera and just saying like, "We made this movie for you. We're introducing. We really hope you enjoy it." Yes. And you're like, "Whoa, that's awesome! I can't wait to watch the movie now."
Exactly.
That's cool. Okay, so that's so we talked about tactically using video to prospect. We talked about once you do prospect and they've agreed to a demo, then using video to increase your show up rate. Talk to me about post demo follow up.
Yeah. So more on demos, sometimes you get throwing curveballs, and really often when your customers start asking you questions, you can often open your back foot. And if you don't have it ready, you can start scrambling and trying to find it and trying to show them it. But that can often end up making your solution look really complex. So during demos, I don't want to break my flow, and I also want to make sure they move along, and I don't want to get too into the weeds with a prospect. So if I get asked a question like, "Hey, can you show me this?" I'll be like, "All right, I haven't actually got that prepared. If it's not something easy to show, how about I do this? I'll send you a quick video following this meeting, highlighting just that one feature, and it's an extra reason for me to follow up and for them to keep the conversation flowing offline as well." So I like to send like a little, "Okay, look, I don't have that ready. I don't want to mess it up and make it look stupid. Do you mind if I shoot you a quick video afterwards, just showing that one thing?" And then I'll send like a 1-minute video afterwards. We get video analytics when people open things like Vidyards, so it's a great way to see if you've still got an engaged prospect as well. And the only reason for that is, one, on my demos, I like just to be thinking, I like to be prepared for everything like that. And also, I don't want to get into the weeds, because once they send, "Oh, can you click there? And what about if you click on that one?" You get
really derailed from the demo.
Yeah, exactly. So that's one way I like to do it. Another one is during the demo stage, especially during summer vacays, you can often be working with teams of 10 buyers, right? And during summer, people are always on vacation, so it can get really hard to get all 10 of those people in the room. I'll often start reaching out to those people, multi-threading, calling them, seeing what's important to them, and I'll send them little micro demos via video. And I'll be like, "Hey, look, you've mentioned that this problem is especially relevant to marketing. Here's the 3 things in the product that's going to help you with that." And that's just a great way to put more engagement and get more kind of sidebars going on with the main conversation moving forward as well, keeping that cycle moving along.
And these micro demos that you do, how long are they? The max amount of time?
Max 3 minutes, but I'm aiming for 1 minute 30 seconds, and I'll have everything ready, and I'll kind of flow through it and be like, hey, you mentioned on our call that we had yesterday when I buzzed you or when I emailed you, whatever it was, that these things are important. Just want to highlight that. Does this bring up any more questions for you, or do you think that looks like what you were expecting?
And are you sending, because in the cold prospecting, the videos you're sending, let's just say one video throughout the entire sequence, essentially, are you sending more videos? Let's assume that you're not dealing with 10 buyers, you're dealing with one buyer, so
Yeah.
it's no real multi-threading there. Are you sending only one video follow-up post demo, like throughout the life cycle of that deal, or are you sending more than one?
So for demos, I'm probably only going to be sending one for what we didn't cover on the call, maybe.
Okay.
Or if I think of something else that comes up, or oh, on the call, like it's really tough. Sometimes you go off a demo and you're like, I wish I'd have said that. You can actually record a quick little video and be like, hey, on the call, you mentioned this. It just came to my mind that this is actually something we could help with. And then you can show a little something like that. It's really playing it by ear and seeing where it makes the most sense to use video. But post demo, it makes it much easier to show people stuff real quick. And because you get the tracking and engagement and the notifications when they get opened, it's also a really good measure to see if your deal is moving in the right direction.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking? I'm like, I send videos obviously, and I get actually don't get a lot of, when I get cold emails, I rarely get video being sent to me. Rarely. But I was thinking the ones that I have seen throughout my entire career, they've more or less been the same, with like, a slight nuance for personalization, with a whiteboard with my name and they wave like awkwardly. Like I've seen that, and like I feel like that's common. I wonder, and I had this thought last week, and I keep like recycling this thought in my mind. If you go on your TikTok, they're really entertaining because, number one, for many reasons. Number one, you're talented. Number two, it's not like one long recording. You're doing a lot of cuts and you're doing editing, and but it's also educational at the same time.
Yeah.
I have never heard or seen a salesperson use video as either their prospecting follow-up or their post demo, whatever it is, that is TikTok style, where they're doing like these crazy editing and like short and like almost comical and these like captions, but it's super personalized.
Yeah. I could show you an example, and I don't know how people listening to this would actually see it, but I've seen someone do this really, really well. A guy called Chris Van Prague, he works at Vidyard, but he didn't when he made this video. But yeah, it's a really good point. And I think the reason that people don't do that is because it's a little more time consuming, and not everyone has the editing skills or wants to learn how to edit things. But yeah, that could be a really good way to stand out. I think of like creative people who have gone really out there with video. I've seen people like Zoe Hartsfield do videos of her singing on the ukulele. He's got musical talent.
That's like a Fiverr gig type of video.
Yeah, exactly. Like I've made you this 30-second song and jingle, and you could send that to like a TRA account.
That's awesome. I like that a lot.
You see people like Ryan Scalera who makes entire cover videos for prospects. Like he made that video for Gravy, right? So you can get pretty out there with creative videos. There's a whole bunch that I could send you, but there's one from Chris Van Prague where he sent it and he edited in, like he was saying things like your company, and he just put in stock footage, stock images, like funny ones for everything he was saying. And he was like, in your field, and then he like put up a photo of a field on the screen, right?
That's fine.
Like he kind of
literal
literal field. Yeah. So he kind of it was a pretty normal video, but he like edited it to like take it to that next level. And I'd say if you do have those interests, hobbies, music, whatever it may be, they try and bring those in. I try and bring my lightsabers in whenever I can as well. As I like them, and
especially if like one of the things I always like tell my students is when you're doing your prospect research pre-call, and you're doing the call and you're building rapport, whatever it is, don't just look for business related stuff that you can jot down or take notes on or tell the prospect. Look for something that's really personal to them. So if they're like crazy Star Wars fans, then yeah, it makes sense to potentially do a video with like a lightsaber and like, I am your AE. I don't know, whatever. I'm not that creative in that sense, but
that's pretty good. That I think that was pretty creative. More, I think the other thing is, obviously you mentioned the whiteboard and wave thing. That's a bit cliche these days.
Yeah, very cliche.
That's how it started. That's why I like to start things on their LinkedIn profile, just something a little bit more visual, interesting there. But obviously using tone, being emphatic, delivering emotional speeches essentially to camera helps those videos stay less mundane as well, making them and for the prospects watching them. Give you an example. I was talking to a unicorn last year, and
Literally a unicorn.
no, like a
Yeah, no. Unicorn company.
they had the $1 billion valuation, and they were like, look, this is slipped on our priority list. We're probably not interested in this. I was talking to a champion. The decision maker was the chief revenue officer. I was working with the VP of sales. I just didn't have access to him. There was no direct line of sight for me to get a conversation with him. So I sent him a video and I said, hey, like in your recent funding valuation, it said that you were, a lot of the key focus is going to be delivering an excellent service to each of your customers. Right now, because of this problem in your business, it depends which customer you ask if they're getting good service or not. This is a big problem. I've been told it's not a priority right now, but for these reasons, I think there could be money potentially being left on the table, and these inconsistencies are only going to grow as you start to reinvest in the business with your latest round of funding. Because I sent as a video, it was so much more emotional, impactful.
Versus like a text email.
Yeah, I got a notification they'd watched it, and then my champion emailed me 5 minutes later saying, hey, well, we're back on. I never spoke to the CRO before they closed the deal, but sending that video in such an emotional way made it really impactful. And that was one I did as well. And the last type of video I like to send is a proposal recap. So whenever I send a proposal, I always include a video sending along with me, especially given that like a lot of the times they're signed by people who are chief financial officers or CEOs. And in an ideal world, you've always spoken to those people, but we all know that sales isn't always ideal. And you don't always have access to the people who are going to be signing the final contract or checking the price or approving things. So I did send a video recapping all the pain points that we've uncovered throughout the sales cycle, clarifying on pricing and how everything works, and then reaffirming next steps. So there's a complete clarity on everything, why they should sign the contract and what's going to happen after they do.
Have you ever, have you ever done anything where you've done like a video, whatever it is, and then instead of and there's nothing confidential in there, but it's just like, it's something that is relevant, you're posting whatever it is. And instead of sending it privately to the prospect, tweet it out and say like, hey, can someone help me land? I don't know. I don't know. Have you ever done a public video follow-up?
That's I haven't actually. Well, actually, no, I did. I put one on a TikTok. I made a joke TikTok where I was leaving a voicemail for a prospect who was ghosting me on the proposal. And I was like, hey, Mark, just calling you again. I've sent you 12, in case you didn't see my 12 text messages, 15 voicemails, or the letter I sent to your wife. Curious how we are with the proposal. It was actually I was actually being ghosted by a prospect called Mark at that point in time.
Yeah.
So I copied the link from that TikTok and sent it to Mark and said, thought you might find this one funny. And he replied and said, sorry, well, I've been all over the shop. I owe you an apology. Let's pick this back up.
So in this case, yeah, you did do like a TikTok video and use that as a video to send.
Yeah, but it was discreet. Like it was played as a bit, but I was actually using his name with the intention of sending it to him afterwards. Someone who's done this really well is someone like Ryan Scalera. Again, I'll mention him. He made music videos for the likes of Gravy and Gong and Get Accept, and then and made them to prospect into them. And then because of those videos, he got so much more publicity that people were asking to meet with him, right? So he almost built his personal brand while also prospecting these people. And they were really well-produced videos as well. Not everyone could make a video like that, but he's someone I think of who did it really well when he was in IC.
Yeah. So I'm gonna ask a question on behalf of someone that's listening. 2 questions. I would imagine people would ask. One, what if I'm uncomfortable going on video, which is I'm sure it's extremely common. Yeah. And then the second question is, what if I am, let's just say, not creative? I'm fine. I'm willing to get on camera, but I'm not creative. I don't have any editing skills or whatever it is. What would you say for both those questions?
So nothing in sales is really that comfortable. We're approaching strangers and potentially getting shot down. The only way you really get good at stuff is by doing it over and over again, repetition. Yep. I think a lot of people fail with video because they only try it once or twice and they're like, oh, it didn't work. Well, reality, you need to do things a lot more than once or twice to get good at them. Yeah. So practice it like a muscle. Cold calling's uncomfortable, but we still do it, as most sales reps do. Video is the same way. Try not to be too self-critical. Don't re-record it a bunch of times because it will start to sound robotic, and it's only human to make mistakes. If you do slip up on your words, then just say, hey, just start the sentence again and continue. Some tools like Vidyard allow you to trim afterwards as well. So if you do make a mistake, you can start off where you left off and then go cut the mistake out. Very similar to TikTok. And for people who aren't editors, you don't need to be an editor. You can do it all in one continuous shot. Like I mentioned, that prospecting video. Mm-hmm. relevant pain point, relevant observation, pain point connected to observation, solution, call to action.
Yeah.
That's super simple framework.
I would imagine tactically also there are two ways if someone's listening to this, they can also, regarding the editing, you said one of it was by keeping it short, which is one of the reasons why most of my podcast episodes are solo acts, because I know how to edit, but I don't have the patience for it. And I don't do the fancy editing because I don't know really how to, and I could outsource it, but I'm sort of lazy. So I was like, you know what? Let me keep my episodes 5 minutes or less because I can do it in one take versus multiple takes. So my advice to somebody listening is Will was saying keep it short, under what was it, 3 minutes or sub 30 seconds. So that makes it easy. And number two, you can use sort of like a teleprompter, and I'm sure they have like free downloads for teleprompters.
Yeah. Most tools even have notes built into them. And if you just drag those close to where your camera lens is on your computer, you can those about making it too obvious that you're reading from a script.
Yeah. And would you recommend also getting like a high definition camera?
I think equipment isn't super important. I've done a video on like equipment you can get, but no one's expecting it. There's a couple of simple things you can do to make yourself look and sound better. Use a headset.
Yep.
And try and bring your camera to eye level so you're not looking down on someone, and then make sure you're well lit. So if you don't have great lighting or a ring light, which they're only really cheap from Amazon, like I'll turn mine on and off now.
Yeah, I have mine right here. It's pink.
There you go. Look at that. It's trendy. You can pick one of those up for $15, but if you don't want to even do that, you can just sit directly in front of a window, so the window's hitting the face. What you don't want to do is have like a light source
behind you,
because that's going to make you look a little bit scary and
like Darth Vader.
Silhouette. Darth Vader, exactly. Well, I've actually got it back there right now, so
there it is. Cool, man. This is really, really tactical. I think really helpful. I think a lot of people, they want to do video, they don't know how to, they don't know where to start, and I think this is going to be a good one to show them. Where can somebody find you? I mentioned TikTok. If you want, you have the floor to do a little self promotion here.
Yeah, LinkedIn is always good. Will Aitken, and then TikTok as well. I have two TikTok accounts. Sales Feed, where I post sales advice and humor videos, and then my own account, which is called Will Aitken again. And that's just a real mess at the moment. I'm just making whatever I fancy there.
Yeah, cool, man. Appreciate you being on here.
Absolutely, mate. It's an absolute pleasure.